The World Cup LEGO sets this year are not the first of their kind. LEGO's been making World Cup sets for decades, but most people don't actually know how it started. They think it started in 2000 with the sports theme, but LEGO released a full wave of sets for France '98. However, it was through Shell gas stations and Merlin in the UK. They made all sorts of sets, but the only real selling point was the World Cup. They were all in the town theme, which is known for its simplicity, so it's not like anything they made later on. But the first set from this run is worth knowing about, because it really shows how strange this era was. The goals and linemen set came with 2 nets, flags, cards, 3 referee minifigs, and not a single player. The box art even shows a referee giving a red card to someone we can't see, and as weird as it is, this is where LEGO Soccer began. But it's not even the weirdest set in this wave. That title goes to the police unit set because it's based on actual riots. 3 of the 4 minifigures are cops, and the other one is the guy they're trying to arrest, who LEGO just named Hooligan. It may seem weird and honestly not very kid-friendly, but this was a real problem during France '98. In England's match against Tunisia in Marseille, English fans rioted for 3 days and injured 32 people, and this was literally their first game. Clearly, LEGO was strapped for ideas to make a set based on something like this, but the polybags make this even more obvious. They released 8 of them for a bunch of different countries, and all they had were a minifigure and a sticker sheet, besides 2 that had a ball. And the weird part was they were region locked, but not the way you think. You see, the bags had the exact same minifigure inside no matter where you bought them. What changed were the sticker sheets. If you bought one in England, you got English stickers. If you bought in Germany, you got German stickers, and so on. It was like this for every country, and if you didn't live in them, you got the generic world stickers instead. So unless you knew a guy in a lot of different places, you weren't gonna get anything specific. But this is just the 1998 wave. The sets in 2000 were a new era. LEGO realized they couldn't sell sets off the World Cup gimmick alone, so they added what's kept them alive for all these years: play features, and there were a lot of them. Spring-loaded shooting mechanics, movable goalkeepers, and way more. LEGO had never done anything like this before, and since these sets were before iPads and Game Boys, LEGO made them portable, which made them even more enticing. They didn't pull this idea from thin air though. A company called Subbuteo had just made table soccer games and was doing really well with them, so LEGO translated it into bricks, and at the time, it was really popular. But the most popular set from this era was the shoot and score set with Zinedine Zidane. He was the star of the show in the '98 finals, scoring 2 goals he made with his head. He was the undisputed star player of the team, so the fact that LEGO was even able to make a set of him is pretty crazy. Naturally, Zidane's minifigure looks pretty old now. The new ones have skin colors, cooler faceplates, and captain's patches. But LEGO never made sets of real people back then, and Zidane won the Ballon d'Or that year, so this was pretty nuts. But if you look up LEGO Shoot and Score, 2 sets will actually come up, because LEGO made a different one with an unnamed player. Can you guess which one is more valuable now? Naturally, it's Zidane's, but they were the same price when they came out. So I guess this is before LEGO realized they could tax us for licensed sets. But like we saw with the Hooligan set, this was also before LEGO was extremely family friendly, because there's an X-ray of a broken knee in the Super Sports coverage set. At first, it looks completely innocent. There's a camera guy, a sign for the shop, but then there's also a sign for X-rays, and obviously someone got injured. But even crazier is LEGO promoted the set around injuries. The box art shows someone being carried on a stretcher. Injuries are obviously a big part of this game, but there's no way it should be a selling point for a kid's toy. LEGO wasn't completely stupid though, because they did include a real soccer ball with the team transport set. It had LEGO branding all over it, and the set even came with 6 minifigures. But there's actually something wrong with the ball. Among the LEGO branding, there's a minifigure that doesn't actually exist. Apparently, he's never been made in real life, so he only exists on this ball. It's definitely pretty weird, but there's something even weirder hiding in plain sight. Look at the sponsors on the Championship Challenge set. Notice anything? Yeah, they're all fake besides Adidas. Since this released in 2000, LEGO didn't have anywhere near the amount of partners they do now. Adidas was partnered with FIFA, so they were the only one LEGO could put on here, and to fill space, they just used a bunch of their own stuff, which is pretty funny. But there's something else going on here that definitely isn't. This set got a second version in 2002, and that version got 4 different variants, some of which were region locked. The minifigures from the original challenge set and the second version are all on unnamed teams with random jerseys. But these other variants had the national teams of different countries that you could only buy in their country. The most popular one is the French version, since they won the World Cup in '98 and the Champions League in 2000. It's easy to find online, but this next variant is not. LEGO also made a version for Bayern, but it's so underdocumented that every picture shows the minifigs from the Challenge 2 set. Just like the polybags, these Challenge set variants were all identical besides the stickers. There were French stickers in the French set and German ones in the Bayern set. We just don't know what they look like. The last variant is a lot easier to find because it doesn't share the same set number, and it's actually of the American national team. But then there's the Japanese soccer team set, which takes the under-documentation thing to a whole new level. It actually came out a year before the ones I just talked about, but there are genuinely only a few pictures of it online, and it doesn't even come up on Brick Economy. This doesn't make any sense because Japan co-hosted the World Cup a year later, so you'd think a set of their national team would be really popular. Obviously, the main focus of this wave was France '98 and the GOAT Zidane. But there was another part that doesn't get covered as much: the women's team. LEGO made one set to represent them, so it had a lot of minifigures and a pretty big sticker sheet with 4 different countries on it. This is the only LEGO set from back then that even acknowledges the women's team, but it also had the most female minifigures in any LEGO set. Women weren't represented that well in LEGO back in the day, so 6 in one set was genuinely a lot. Since then, they've made sets with as many as 10, so this was kind of an experiment back then, but not like the Coca-Cola theme. This was something totally different. It was a special theme made for the 2002 World Cup, and it was never meant to go further than that. LEGO made 30 little polybags of different things you might see at a World Cup match. I mean, one of them is a 19-piece hot dog cart, so it was genuinely completely random. This isn't even the full story though. All 30 of these polybags were exclusive to Japan, and you couldn't buy them at a LEGO store. They came with bottles of Coke in vending machines, and you never knew which one you were gonna get. That's right, LEGO was doing blind bags 8 years before CMF came out, and yes, there were chase figures. They were rightfully called Secret Sets A and B, and they both had cooler versions of the already cool Coca-Cola soccer players. Set A had a golden version, and Set B had a silver version, but funnily enough, the silver one is actually more valuable. Now, unfortunately, I have no idea how rare they actually were, but LEGO makes stuff for regular soccer too, not just the World Cup, and there are definitely cool things to find. The Old Trafford set from 2020 was the first realistic LEGO football stadium ever made, and if you look at the real one, there's always a banner somewhere that says 20 Legend. But what does this even mean? Well, it refers to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who's now a manager, but played for Man United from 1996 to 2007. 1999 was their biggest year ever, because they completed a treble, which is where you win the Premier, the FA, and the Champions League all in 1 year. Ole scored the winning goal in the Champions League, completing the treble, so Man United made a play on words with his jersey number and legend to honor him. He's an integral part of the club's history, so of course LEGO included 20 Legend in their set. Now, this stadium has renovations all the time, and the only thing left from the original 1910 version is the Sir Bobby Charlton stand. May he rest in peace. He played for Man United from 1956 to 1973 and held the record for the most goals scored until Rooney broke it in 2017. He's a legend to the club just like Ule, so obviously LEGO included his stand in their version. But do you see the white headlight brick right below it? This actually represents the old tunnel the players walked out of until 1993. That year, they made a tunnel in the corner, but the old tunnel is still there in real life, and LEGO represented it with one piece, which is pretty impressive. LEGO's also made Camp Nou and Bernabeu, which both have interesting stuff going on, so let's start with Camp Nou. This set came out in 2021, and the scoreboard says 5-0 with Barcelona as the winner. This is referencing the best day in Barcelona fans' lives, and the worst in Real Madrid's. This is one of the biggest rivalries in soccer, and in 2010, Barcelona beat Real Madrid on their own turf, 5-0. It's one of the most discussed matches in history, so honestly, it'd be weird if LEGO didn't put it on the scoreboard. The Bernabeu scoreboard has Real Madrid winning 3-0, which might be referencing the famous Wolfsburg comeback, when Ronaldo scored twice in 86 seconds, then got a hat trick with a free kick. It's by far their most famous 3-0 win, but if you're a Real Madrid fan, you probably noticed that LEGO's version is old. You see, when LEGO released this set, the Bernabeu was in the middle of a 1.76 billion euro renovation, and they didn't finish until 2023. LEGO's version came out in 2022, and the renovations were way too big for LEGO to start over. First of all, the entire outside looks completely different, but they also added a retractable roof, a retractable pitch, a screen that wraps around the entire stadium, and way more. Making all this in LEGO is definitely possible, but it's expensive, and they would have had to push back the set's release if they wanted to include this stuff. It already had 5,876 pieces, making it the 8th biggest LEGO set ever made at the time. So adding all this new tech and the bigger roof would have taken that number way higher. But what's your favorite LEGO World Cup set? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.